What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're going to be jumping into something a little bit different today. Football's greatest managers, Rinus Michels. Let's jump into it. Let's check it out. Just so everybody's clear on highly combustible, I'm going to watch this because I want to learn about a part of Dutch history. I want to learn a little bit about a great Dutch person. But when it comes to sports honestly are not really my thing whatsoever. Like, I don't watch sports. I don't have any friends that I talk sports with. Unless it's the Olympics, I really don't watch it. 100%. It doesn't matter if it's American football, rugby, cricket, soccer, football, if you want to call it that. It's really, sports have never ever been an interest of mine. They never ever will be an interest of mine. But if it's something about history, if it's something that has to deal with history, it's somebody who made some history, we will most certainly check it out. So let's jump into it. Let's check it out together. Let's roll. Oh, this one is coming at us, first off, via donation from Eric. Much, much love. I do appreciate it, Eric. Let's learn about a great Dutchie. Let's learn a little bit about what he did for football up there. Let's go. I do not know if we'll need the subtitles or not.
Dutch football has been defined by artistry, skill, invention and creativity, and by some of the game's finest players. Dutch footballers are blessed with a unique national sensibility. But such players may never have graced the game without the progressive ideology of one man. In the mid-60s, Dutch football was behind the times, amateur and adrift from the rest of Europe. But the emergence of one manager changed the style and structure of the game itself.
One of the very first things I tried to push through in Ajax was the understanding that if the Netherlands would want to be able to hold their own on an international level, then we had to get rid of this semi-professionalism and had to go fully professional.
He got tired of it being amateur hour around there.
He controlled the players, he controlled the youth, he controlled probably the board of directors too.
Michels had everything, and he used his education to pass on his knowledge. He was, of course, a very good teacher.
Michels was a great coach, the best.
The Netherlands is defined as much by water as by land. Its architecture is testament to this. In the football world, perhaps more than any other manager, Rinus Michels is a product of his nation. In a country where space is at a premium, Michels recognized the same principle applied on the football pitch. The key was how to optimize what little space was available, and by doing so, he created a new way of playing. It became known as total football.
From the beginning, I've tried to manage the build-up of an attack with
To say that someone changed the whole game, though, see, that makes them a spectacular person. When it's a game that people have been playing forever and you discover a new legal way of doing something better, and then you shine for many, many years doing that, it's like a lot of great American football coaches that I know their names, whether or not I watch their sport, because I know that they're great coaches. Like, that's where I would see this whole thing as probably the most interesting to me, is that he actually took something that people already knew and made it better. Anybody that offers a contribution that makes something better is okay, in my opinion. Like,
priority for
let's see what all he
deep
did.
Play. Attackers and midfielders would defend, and defenders would build up and attack. The style of play of the Dutch national team at that time was at world-class level, and our game astounded friend and foe alike.
Verbaasd.
And you could, of course, call this total football.
Rinus Michels was born in Amsterdam in 1928, a stone's throw from the Olympic Stadium, the original home of Ajax. From the very outset, football was in his blood.
We would get up first thing in the morning to be at Ajax for 12 midday, to buy kids' tickets for 10 cents.
10 cents back in the day. 10 cents. Woo! My goodness, what are they today? How much does a football ticket cost today? Imagine that.
That for me is the Ajax
Do they still have
feeling.
kids' tickets?
My father passed that on, and like him, I was a football maniac from the moment I could walk.
Like other boys his age, Michels dreamt of running out at the famous Ajax stadium. Unlike most, he fulfilled his dream, joining Ajax's youth side aged 12. In 1946, after the war, he stepped up to the first team. An industrious forward, Michels went on to score 122 goals in 264 games, winning 2 league titles.
All right. He had some actual skills as a player, too.
Technically, Michels was a very good player. Scored lots of goals, especially with his head. He was a strong player for the Dutch team. In the beginning, his very first match, he scored 5 goals.
In your very first
Michels
match?
learnt a great deal under 2 Ajax managers from England, Vic Buckingham and Jack Reynolds. Their progressive ideas on how the game should be played interested Michels, who would not be deterred by the amateur status of Dutch football. Alongside his work as a PE teacher, Michels spent 5 years managing amateur sides JOS and AFC. By 1965, he was ready to accept the chance of a lifetime, becoming manager of Ajax, where changes would have to be made.
He used his knowledge of teaching, as well as his knowledge of the world of football. He didn't just know what was good, but also what he thought needed to be changed.
I was known as a joker, and people always assumed I would stay the same person I was. I quickly realized that if I were to bring in a regime based on discipline, that there would be sufficient respect.
He noticed that the several players were just lazing about and were not doing anything. So he just started with discipline. And now, as a coach, he immediately made a distance between himself and the team.
I needed to change my approach and needed to make it clear to everyone that even though they were semi-professionals, money and spectator numbers were at stake. And for that, they needed to do certain things and stop others.
Whipped him into shape.
At his first meeting with the team, he sat down and said, "We want to be professional. Ajax has to be professional. And anyone who doesn't agree with this, well, they can quit.
Wow.
Football is war. From now on, you are all numbers. Training will be extremely hard. And anyone who doesn't want to do this can say so now and can go."
At away matches, he had the same mentality. Our players would like sandwiches with something on, and other coaches would say, "That's ridiculous, just adapt to how we do things here." But Michels would refuse and say, "No, you guys have to adapt to how we do things at Ajax."
Michels began signing his better
Holding them
players
to a standard.
professional contracts.
I like that.
Pete Kaiser, the star left winger, was the first.
I got mad respect for people who know how to command respect without having to cross that line and make it a respect out of fear. When people start seeing you make changes, or people start seeing you make improvements, or people start seeing those people under your charge all of a sudden doing better, they look to you. They look at that, and they're like, people start to take notice.
Next was a scrawny 17-year-old who would become the heartbeat of Michels' team, Johan Cruyff.
We've worked together, I think, about.
We heard about him.
Michels was a big help because he arranged the organization outside the field, and I could arrange it inside the field.
The genius. The man with a vision that only very few players have been blessed with. And despite the fact they are under pressure by the opponent, need to come up with a rapid action, but who can keep a total overview, which means they can play very efficiently as part of a team. And that, I find, was the extra value of Cruyff as the star.
Taking over when Ajax were 5th from bottom, Michels' first season was one of consolidation, but he was aiming much higher.
It of course became clear to me that Ajax should have as its first goal to become champions in the Netherlands as soon as possible. And in order to do this, we needed more intense training sessions.
We went to training camp, and it was as if I had joined the army. Get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, walk. 8:30 to 9 o'clock, breakfast. 10:30, cardiovascular without the ball. At 2:30, tactical and technical exercise.
Good God.
At 5 o'clock, we played matches. You were so tired, training 5 times a day. You wanted to go to bed straight away.
5 training sessions a day. That is 100% a way to make sure that you become a winner. They say practice makes perfect. You might not ever get to that perfect stage, but you can come pretty close. Especially if you've got a good tactician as a coach that's making wise decisions like, hey, we need to look more professional. Like
in 1966, Ajax won the Eredivisie for the first time in 6 years. For only the 3rd time in their history, Ajax would now take part in the European Cup. In the 2nd round, they faced English champions Liverpool.
A Dutch team win against an English team was something outrageous that didn't exist.
That was a great game for Ajax, and for the whole of Holland. We beat one of the best teams in Europe.
Kans! Oh! Nuninga en een doelpunt! Nog een Zwart. En Nuninga en het is een doelpunt! Groot. Ja!
We won 5-1. The game we played was totally different than they were used to.
A 2-2 draw in England secured a place in the quarter-finals. But when Ajax were surprisingly knocked out by the Czech side Dukla Prague, Michels' ruthless streak came to the fore.
Well, the famous example is of Frits Soetekau, who scored an own goal in the quarter-final of the European Cup in Prague. And at the end of the season, he was thrown out at Ajax and told he could go.
Michels was now in total control, and on the pitch, his priorities were simple.
The first thing I had on my list was becoming champions. And secondly, to, as much as possible, develop a positive playing style. With a positive playing style, meaning that you put the emphasis as little as possible on defending, but try as much as possible to make play.
This attacking mindset led to a League and Cup double in
go
1967.
completely offensive.
Michels
I like
was
that.
attempting to create art through football. Ajax played the game differently from other teams, and a new expression entered the footballing lexicon.
Ajax dus een positievoetbal speelde, een bewegingsvoetbal speelde.
Ajax played a football of positions, a football of movement, where positions continuously changed and attackers and midfielders would defend, and vice versa. Defenders would build up and attack, and all of this in a constant circulation. And you could, of course, call this total football.
Michels went to watch basketball and he picked up the pressure from basketball. The forward would pressure the keeper and the defender, and then the midfielders would come along. So you get a sort of surge forward. and the opponents would like back off and get back to their own goal.
We would mark the opposition man for man. And if their goalkeeper had the ball, he wouldn't be able to throw it to anyone, because one of us would always be there.
Ajax the pressure was so much that they just couldn't get out. And the keeper would play long balls and then they would lose possession immediately.
We played then like Barcelona play now. It's fun when you see Messi, Xavi, Iniesta. It's fantastic.
Ajax were enjoying themselves, and in 1969 they finally reached the European Cup final. Their opponents, Italian giants Milan.
Shaki, you are a great footballer. If anyone can drop the ball on that line, it is you, together with Pete. Cup football, and to a lesser extent, football in normal competition, demands full attention. You cannot relax for a second, because any moment of relaxation can be fatal.
The manager's words.
I like that. He's literally training them like they're going to war. He said, football is war. They tell you that this is one of the first things you learn. Anytime that you get lazy, people die. Like, that's one of the things. If you make mistakes, people die. If you get lazy, people die. Like, when you're putting that kind of a mindset to a game, you're going to alter and you're changing your team into a much more offensive team. I could see that being quite intimidating on the field, 100%.
Were prophetic. Ajax were defeated 4-1. But the team, and Michels, would learn.
The players themselves thought that Michels' tactics was too attacking, too offensive. And that was, maybe he learned from that you need more, and you also have to play in defense.
The experience was not there. We made some choices, mistakes, but you have to go through these mistakes, otherwise you can never understand what it is. You had to learn from it.
We got absolutely thrashed and got nothing. Although we played quite well, we didn't get the result. So I needed to take another step and put it into practice.
In the European Cup final at Wembley 2 years later, Ajax were determined not to make the same mistakes against Greek champions Panathinaikos. Despite nerves, Ajax won 2-0 with goals from Dick van Dijk and Arie Haan. It was their first European trophy.
It was a coronation of the many years of hard work this team put in, under my direction. To not just deliver results, but to do so with a playing style, which we can certainly regard as a style that carries a lot of risk.
Ajax would win the European Cup in the following 2 seasons as well, but without Michels. After winning 9 trophies in just 6 years, he decided to test himself abroad in Barcelona.
Oh.
Michels was given one target, the league title, which Barcelona had not won since 1960. And Michels immediately saw why.
The Spanish player, as opposed to a Dutch player, is very sensitive to criticism. They are very sensitive to criticism from the stands, but also from the media. And when things are not going well during a match, they have a tendency to shrink back into themselves. They try to look as good as possible as an individual, but no longer operate as a team player.
Under Michels' direction, Barcelona finished 3rd, then 2nd. The manager knew what was required. Returning to his old club, he signed Johan Neeskens and his protégé, Johan Cruyff.
Oh.
They in turn brought the required mentality.
Cruyff especially tried to maintain the unity in the team on the pitch and prevent this falling back. He had more self-confidence and did not give a damn about the criticism from the stands and around him.
Forget the haters.
This only took form then, although I brought it in myself. It requires players on the pitch and in training who radiate this, and who act like this, and who deliver this.
If you've got a game where you want the ball, what you're going to do with the ball, you try to attack. And if you try to attack, you try to score a goal, which means you always try to get the positive side. Barcelona at that time had some good players, but they didn't think like that. And the moment they start thinking like that, it was a very good team.
Neeskens and Cruyff proved to be the catalyst for Barcelona. The season of 1973-74 saw the club win their first La Liga title for 14 years. As in Amsterdam, Michels was now a hero. But an even bigger prize loomed on the horizon. The 1974 World Cup was about to start in West Germany, and the Netherlands needed a coach.
Sometimes we went, sometimes I didn't, and it was just a little mess. Then everybody realized, hey, we've got a big name to defend now. 5 years and dominating Europe, we can't look like fools, it's impossible.
Michels joined the Dutch setup just a month before the finals began. Having played under him at Ajax, many of his squad were familiar with his methods. But nothing was taken for granted.
Well, we trained incredibly hard with Michels. For a month, we really pulled out all the stops to get to top form. And the moment we went off to Germany, we were really fit and in exceptional form.
In 1974,
In 1974, the Dutch national team came into a tournament out of nothing, and they made a big name for themselves.
And they did so in dazzling fashion, the highlight being a 4-0 thrashing of Argentina. But in order to reach the final, the Dutch would have to overcome the reigning world champions, Brazil. The manager knew which side should be more concerned.
The style of play of the Dutch national team at that time was at world-class level, and our game astounded friend and foe alike.
We had to respect Holland too. In my opinion, they were my favourites to win the title because of the modern football they played in that World Cup. It was a whole different way of seeing the game.
Holland ran out 2-0 winners, with Neeskens and Cruyff scoring the goals. They had qualified for their first ever World Cup final.
And then you saw that the big and the great team we had, because we didn't only outplay the Brazilians, but we outplayed them with the best football.
There would be no happy ending. In the final against arch-rivals West Germany, Johan Neeskens' penalty gave the Dutch a second-minute lead, without Germany touching the ball. But Paul Breitner equalised from the spot, before Gerd Müller scored the winner.
He scored many like this. It was not an aberration. And again he scored in the decisive moment.
I think we played a little too confident, and at the same time, if you do that, you don't do the things perfectly. That's why we didn't win the game. That's why we lost.
We really had the time of our lives there. It was just a shame that we didn't win the final. We kind of forgot we had to win.
14 years later, after spells in America and Germany, Michels returned to international management. The European Championships of 1988 brought together the most talented group of Dutch players since the early 70s.
I had a very balanced group of players, by which I mean that for our playing style, we had good defensive build-up, and in the attack, we had a well-balanced hold, and especially for the way we played, this was very important.
A 1-0 defeat to Russia meant the Dutch had to win against England. Michels made a crucial change, bringing in striker Marco van Basten.
What started as a very difficult tournament changed as a dream for someone like me.
A 1-0 win over Ireland would mean a semi-final with arch-rivals West Germany.
Germany versus Holland is, of course, always a very special occasion. A bit like England versus Scotland. A match that cannot compare to anything else. So there was a huge atmosphere around this match.
A Lothar Matthäus penalty gave the hosts the lead. Ronald Koeman equalised from the spot. Before Van Basten struck, just 2 minutes from time to vanquish the old enemy and put Holland in the final. Michels had gained some sort of revenge for that World Cup final defeat 14 years earlier.
Everybody was happy that we won against Germany. I was happy because we went to the final, and that was something what was for me important.
Van Basten's late winner against West Germany meant the Dutch met Russia once again, only this time it was in the final. Ruud Gullit opened the scoring. Before Van Basten sealed the victory with one of the greatest goals ever seen.
That was a dead-on,
Rinus Michels
accurate
had made
shot
history,
right there.
winning a trophy for the Dutch. And he did it playing his way, the way he thought football should be played.
We had a really good team spirit at the time, and we were younger, and we didn't knew what it was to win important things. And so the talent and the age, the youngsters, and that in combination with Rinus Michels, I think worked out great.
The 1988 European Championships were the culmination of a career spent in football and the last trophy won by Michels before his retirement. 13 trophies in a career spanning 27 years may not be as impressive as some records.
It's still pretty
but for
damn
many,
impressive.
Rinus Michels will always be remembered as the greatest for achieving success with a hugely influential style that changed the game. In 1999, he was voted Coach of the Century by FIFA. Rinus Michels' philosophy was that football played well was not just a sport, but an art form.
I can see that.
I think all players who played under Michels have all become stars with strong personalities. He made us better football players and better human beings.
It's very important that Michels was there because he was an authentic professional, not only in the job but in the organization.
He was calm and he knew that we were willing and able to do the job. So I think that was a very important moment.
We were able to win the European Championship also because he made it a really good team together.
Rinus Michels died in 2005, aged 77. He is remembered as one of the greatest managers of all time and the godfather of total football. It was his philosophy which inspired the likes of Johan Cruyff at Barcelona and Arsène Wenger at Arsenal to believe that whilst winning always takes precedence, playing football beautifully should always be the aim.
I have always been of the realistic, pragmatic opinion that eventually it is about the results, winning matches and winning the league.
Absolutely.
And if you can do that with positive football, then it does make it harder. But on the other hand, it is mentally more liberating, more fun.
It's actually a lot more intriguing than I thought it was going to be. 100%. I'll admit it, it was a great video. It was a good look into, obviously, what a lot of people consider to be a really fantastic man. One of the greatest coaches of all time, which is a title in and of itself, the coach of the century. Like all of these titles, not to mention the titles that he helped individuals win. And the fact that they all have come and said that he made them into better human beings, things like that, that's something I could definitely rock with. I see how he was an important man in history. It's probably not going to make me watch football any more than I already do. But it was definitely a very intriguing look into somebody that a lot of people find very important and his contributions to a historic game. If you guys enjoyed it, definitely go show the original poster some love. We're going to do that right now. AK, hit the like button if you liked it, the dislike button if you disliked it. Check out one of my other videos up there. Subscribe right here if you want to see more content, possibly your content. Till the next one, I'm highly combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe. I love you to the moon and back. Peace.